for me, becoming an entrepreneur, like I did not even see that at all. It was extremely risk averse. I wanted a lot of security, but I became pregnant with my oldest children, who are twins. I ended up on emergency bed rest. I wasn't going to go back to law. I knew that I was going to start my own company, and I knew it was going to be in consumer products. All these women kept telling me they're tequila drinkers. I myself, as a consumer, felt very overlooked, and I kept coming back to tequila.
Welcome back to the Liquid Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Monte Burrow. Today, I'm excited to have this young lady in front of me. She is a woman of many talents, many titles, but the one most noticeably for you, the audience, is she's a liquid entrepreneur. Today, I'd like to welcome Mara Smith with Inspiro Tequila. Mara, what's up?
Nothing. Thanks so much for having me.
Had to do it. Had to do it. We're smiling and laughing a bit because Mara, like myself, had to fight a little bit of traffic and some other things before this. So, hey, we appreciate her being here in spite of the challenges to get here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, the juggle is real.
Is it? Is it? Mara, so I know you're in Chicago, I believe, right now, but where did
Yeah.
you grow? Where did you grow up?
Actually, I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. I actually ended up back where I came from. I started out. So I moved to a few different suburbs, but then ended up the majority of my time in going to high school in the northern suburbs of Chicago. And I'm back here where I started. So I haven't gone very far.
Hey, back where you needed to be is probably the thing that you can most noticeably say around that. What was childhood like growing up in Chicago? Were you a Chicago girl, like all into the, well, shoot, let me get this right, because I know it's a difference between Cubs
Cubs.
fans, and I don't even want to get into that. Were you all things Chicago growing up?
I kind of probably not the biggest sports fan, although the Bulls were really good growing up. So I was a big Bulls fan. And at one time the Bears, and actually my brother, though, was more, he actually lives in Jacksonville now and has an entire, what we call his, like, I guess, man cave that is like in complete Chicago Bear decor. So, but yes, I think I probably growing up, we didn't take advantage of the city maybe as much. Both my parents worked in the city, so like they didn't really want to go back down on the weekends and like take us to go do things in the city. So I probably did that more when I was older and lived downtown than growing up. So yeah, um lived in the suburbs, went to public school because we're very fortunate that in Chicago, especially the suburbs, we have a great public school system. So that was it. And I have one younger brother, and just kind of a very typical, my growing up was that I lived really close to the mall. So every job I had was at the mall.
In the mall.
Because I could walk to the mall. So I worked at 31 Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors. I worked at the salad place in the mall. I worked at the clothing store at the mall. Like that was all my summer jobs in high school were basically at the mall because we lived really close by.
What did your parents do for a living? I know you mentioned.
So my mom actually, did work two jobs. She was an English professor and is
Wow.
now she's retired from that. But so she worked in at the Chicago City Colleges for like a very long time. I believe like 35 years or something, teaching English and English second language, and also helped run our family business that we had, which was like we had dry cleaners, and my father he also was running that. There's a little bit of backstory there, but my father, he passed away when I was fairly young, when I was in law school. My parents got divorced when I was in senior in high school. So by the time I was in college, so then my mom was more of a single parent. So teaching and then my father passed away when I was in law school. So
No, no, no. What's interesting, and the reason why I asked that question is, so when I met Mara, I there's a lot of things that kind of stood out to me about you. And one of the things that I think attracted me to your spirit is when you talk about women in particular, you bubble like you're doing now. That people are watching this live, watching this when you actually see the video portion. And I grew up around a lot of females. So I mean, my dad and I, but my sister, my mother, a lot of my cousins were mostly female. And then I had three girls, three daughters, and my wife. So I'm outnumbered. But there's an energy that comes from women that I gravitate towards, and I love to see powerful women and being able to connect to their story. So I can sense that it's interesting to hear your mother's story, like what she did and running a business, and I can see where you get a lot of who you are potentially from that. Did you grow up around a lot of strong women?
yes, well, my mom is like a force to be reckoned with, I'd
Yeah.
say. So, yeah, there are a couple reasons for that.
Hmm.
One, unfortunately, the men in my family have not had long lifespans. My father passed away at 51. My father's father passed away at 51. My mother's father passed away at 54. So I just have seen a lot of women kind of have to rise to the occasion. And um and my grandmother was really the matriarch of our family. And so someone who had very little formal education. My mother's parents, both her parents, survived the Holocaust and were in concentration
Wow.
camps. So they came to Chicago and had they went into camps. My grandmother was 12 years old. So she had no real formal education or very much education. And um, but I actually looked to her as someone who had like incredible business acumen. So she came here, no education, no family, no, had a family here. Actually, my mom was born in a DP camp in Germany after the war.
Wow.
So came here when my mom was young, had my mother's two younger brothers, um, and built a life here and started. And that's like, if we talk about the entrepreneurship journey, they had to like start something. So my grandfather started dabbling in entrepreneurship. I remember, I think he like bought like a pig farm at one point, and then he opened like the first kosher chocolate shop in Chicago called Barton's
Wow.
Chocolate. Like they just try different things and they end up in the dry cleaning business. And he opened a dry cleaning factory on the south side of Chicago, like a very big plant. And that's how my parents ended up in that business. But my grandmother, because she became a widow so young, she just, you know, kind of had to learn, and I feel like was kind of ahead of her time. She became really fascinated. My grandma would like watch like the news and the stock ticker. She liked to invest. She liked to learn about stocks. So just coming from someone who, women just didn't do that. We're not really part of business and didn't have the education. And I just think she had incredible math abilities and just a natural business acumen. And I really, I saw her as someone that I look up to and a great role model. And pretty much if she could do that, I feel like then there was no reason I couldn't, because I was given so many more opportunities like education and things like that.
Wow. You grew up around not gold getters, a ton
Yeah.
of gold getters. That's amazing. If I was to go back, if I was able to go back in time and meet young Marva, 11, 12, 13, whatever the case may be, what would she have told me that she wanted to do with her life? Was it to be in the dry cleaning bit? What would she have told me?
Something that you probably don't hear from that many young girls. I wanted
Uh,
to be a Supreme Court justice.
whoa.
I had always planned to go to law school.
Okay.
I guess I really wanted job security. If you think about that, I wanted to be a
Hmm.
Supreme Court justice. I knew exactly that how many federal background checks you needed to pass to be a Supreme Court justice. Like, I said from a really young age that I was going to go to law school and become a lawyer. So I did that, but I did not become a Supreme Court justice. But that is, you know, I feel like probably not a typical
Yeah.
like dream job, but that was kind of what I had always dreamed of.
So let me see. Correct me if I'm wrong. So you went to school. You went to school for accounting initially,
Yes.
uh,
Yeah.
and you became a CPA as well.
Yeah. I passed. I took the CPA exam. I passed the CPA exam and then went straight to law school.
So and we're going somewhere with this, but I'm just trying to make sure I hit. So accounting, CPA. So you got your accounting, law school. Why are you just not at a firm right now? Just just at a firm, forget anything else in the future. What was the pivot? Talk me through that. It sounds like from me talking to young Mara, you were on the path to get your dream job, you know?
I know,
Talk.
I had a very linear path. And
Yeah.
so, which, so actually for me becoming an entrepreneur, like I did not even see that at
Mhm.
all coming in my future. Um, it was extremely risk averse. I
Mm,
wanted a lot of security. Being part of a family owned business and seeing that there are a lot ups and downs and like you don't always feel that kind of sense of security.
mhm.
Coming from a divorce and having an early death in the family. So I just really wanted something like very stable and
Yeah.
secure. So what was more than like, accounting, then law school, then taking a job at a really large law firm in Chicago so I could like pay off my law school loans and just have a lot of job security. The pivot reasons, and I got a ton of great experience. They throw you in the fire really quickly. I learned a lot on the job very fast being at a large law firm. But what happened is, I got married, actually right after law school, and then I started thinking about having a family. And I looked around and I realized that there were no women partners in my entire department.
Mm,
So I had no role models to look to see how I could possibly balance like a large law firm life with having a family. The options at the time, and I hope things have changed since then, but the option at the time was really to go part-time, which meant you work full-time but just get paid part-time.
mm,
You're off the partnership track, which I had like really worked my butt off to like do well and succeed there. And you don't get the big fun sexy deals that I like to work on.
mhm.
You have to do more routine deals like just standard loan agreements or things like that. So all the aspects that I really liked about it and the drive I had to succeed I wouldn't have that with my options. So that's when I decided to change. So I pivoted and I started in the corporate strategy group at McDonald's Corporation. So that was a major change again that I never saw coming because I left the legal side
Mhm.
and I went to work on the business side.
How long did you stay on that path with them?
So again, things never go according to plan.
Mhm.
Working my way up the corporate ladder. It's kind of the first time my entrepreneurial spirit actually was sparked. 'Cause I was like,
Mm,
we were like ideating for the company and studying consumer trends and insights. And I just found it like fascinating. I started thinking like, oh, maybe I'd start my own company and thinking of ideas. Um, but I became pregnant with my oldest children who are twins
mm,
and they're great now and juniors in college. But I ended up on emergency bed rest. So my corporate career came to a screeching halt very abruptly. I was on emergency bed rest. I was on bed rest for 3.5 months. And then I had preemie twins and I had to make a decision and I thought they needed my attention. And I decided to stay home. I'm very fortunate that I had that option, but it is nothing I ever foresaw. I don't think anyone who knew me saw that coming.
mhm.
They probably saw I was probably more likely to start a company in like, the spirits industry than to decide to stay home because I just was always like working really, really hard, very motivated to like how I can like progress and move
Mhm.
up. So that was a really big change for me.
Did so you're going through a very personal trying time, being a mom, taking care of your twins was the thought that you would go back once they were at a level of security, or was it literally like, I know that whenever they're good, because we know we were called speaking that into existence. Whenever they're good, I am definitely going to go do something else. Where was your head at that time?
So it was a kind of mixed that I always
Mhm,
had ideas in the back of my head. On the other hand, I've never been really good at balance. I'm still not very good at balance. And I was like all or nothing in.
mhm,
So it's funny because my grandmother, who unfortunately has passed away since, but would say to me, you take this job just as seriously as you did your job in the law firm or in a corporation. Like you are all in. I mean,
mhm,
you know, as a stay-at-home mom, same thing, all in, CEO of my house, like, and then my third son, my twins are boy girl twins, but my third child, my son, is 9.5 years younger. So that actually took me out of the workforce for a really long time.
mm,
So
mhm.
maybe by the time they would have been ready to go back in, I was already thinking about having another child. And so then I, also wanted time home with him. So I think it was like the timing just never worked. And also, it was really scary.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what I could do. Re-entering the workforce for women who have been out for a while, it's not easy. I didn't
Mhm.
even know where, I kind of feel like whose door would I knock on? I guess instead of knocking down a bunch of doors, I built my own door, but I wasn't going to go back to law. I like, not kept up my credits. I knew that would not be the right job that I would want to go back into. Um, I I think I was trying to figure that out and like, what am I going to do when I grow up for a really long time?
At some point, you take inventory of what's going on in your life and you say, you know what? I can do this. What is this? And you say, you know what? I have the background to do this, and I'm going to go open a laundromat. No, I'm going to start an alcohol company. Yeah, that's it.
I know.
What in the world? Tell us what took you down that path.
Totally. Temporary insanity maybe. But um so I knew that I was going to start my own company. I kind of also had heard maybe that I don't work well with authority. Like I needed to be the person running. I knew I wanted to be in charge. And I knew it was gonna be in consumer products. So I'd been
Mhm,
in the service industry. I am a super consumer. It just is something I like.
mhm.
Literally today, I had a photo shoot for the brand, and when I go, I bring snacks and different things. Everyone waits for me to see what I'm bringing for them to try. I bring drinks, I bring snacks, like we have new brands to taste test. So that's just something that I enjoy is trying new products. The reason it became tequila, so I was thinking of different ideas. What is it gonna
Mhm.
be? What kind of product? And I kept coming back to tequila. And there were 2 reasons. One, I'd been a tequila drinker for years. That had been my drink of choice. And I thought I was drinking tequila because I thought it was kind of like a better for you adult beverage option. Like, I've been gluten-free for many years. I live like a healthier, generally a healthier lifestyle. But I discovered that all the tequilas I was drinking contained undisclosed additives, like sweeteners and coloring and glycerin, and I had no idea, like the vast majority of brands. So I thought, well, I really want something additive free because I wanted something cleaner, like kind of how I eat. And the second real thing that pushed me forward was that all these women kept telling me they're tequila drinkers. And I was thinking, well, if all these women drink tequila, why are brands not focused on this consumer?
Mhm.
I myself, as a consumer, felt very overlooked. I did not think that tequilas were marketed towards me, speaking to me. I didn't think everything from bottle design to messaging. And I really wanted to authentically address this consumer. I think she's a very powerful consumer, a thoughtful consumer. We know she makes about half of tequila drinkers and makes over 80% of all purchasing decisions. So it's like, how can we speak to her really authentically and not pretend that we created something, from her and not have understand her. But so that is why I thought there's an opportunity to make an impact. And I've been in many industries that are male dominated without a lot of women. And here I saw one that if I was going to re-enter the workforce and do something, I really wanted to do something where I thought I could make an impact. And this was to provide more female voices to an industry where there are not a lot of female voices.
So, Martin, nothing you said strikes me as being risk averse at all. Did having your kids maybe shift that part of you? Like, where did that? Because this is not an easy business to jump into.
I think I got a little more risk tolerant as I got older. And
Mhm.
also, there's something about being, I'm going to say nicely, like a more seasoned entrepreneur, right?
Mhm.
I didn't start this from like a dorm room where it was like, oh my gosh, can I like make my rent? Like my husband and I have been working for a really long time. And so I thought there was a time, I'm still risk averse. So when I make decisions, I'm still like I feel like cautious about decisions I make. But um, I guess it was less about taking away like, and feeling like I'm going to make a huge, be super risky, and more about maybe I started to believe in myself more, that like, if I put my mind to it, I can probably do it. So I think it was like a little bit more my mindset of like, I think I can do something if I'm really willing to, because I know I am going to work as hard as, you can.
Mhm.
So if I make a decision, I have to believe in myself. And so I think that was more of it, maybe that part of it, like building some confidence around it,
Mhm.
around risk taking, as opposed to, you know, being super like risk tolerant.
Yeah, yeah. I, I'm gonna hold on to that one. I think you are way more powerful in that space than you believe you are. I see it. I see it. I see it. But I'll say it's calculated risk. You do the
Yes.
calculations. That's that accounting piece behind you happening. All right. So we're going down this tequila path. How did you learn the game? Like so where did you even learn where to start? There, I can imagine like I said this before. I love sneakers, right? But I wouldn't know where to begin to find the fabrics and who does this. Where do I get this tool from it? How did you learn the game?
Yes. I did a ton of research. And I really think anyone can. All the resources that are there at your fingertips. So first I start to search tequila brands. Okay, what's in tequila? Production. Who are the makers of tequila? I would search distilleries. Where are the list of distilleries? How are they ranked? I I think one of the first things I did, I subscribed to like newsletters, industry newsletters. I reached out to a couple people that were in the industry first. Like oh, a neighbor had started a ready to drink. I'm going to reach
Mhm.
out and find out. And they're like, oh, subscribe to these two newsletters. Great. So I listened to webinars, tons of podcasts. I would do searches. I found out that, okay, the regulatory body for tequila is a CRT in Mexico. They offer a course. So I took the course on the, production and history of tequila, became certified in the production and history of tequila making. So I looked for every possible resource, really. And spirits industry, I think with having a legal background, it helped me maybe kind of understand all the compliance and regulatory issues, because we know that they're, the archaic rules from 1933, as far as like distribution and three-tier distribution. But like even studying that, like how does it operate? How does it work? I did all my own registrations. So I just dove in and tried to learn literally as much as possible. I mean, I found my master distiller by reading a book on like the women in tequila. It's a very small book, but I was
Mm.
like reading all the women in tequila, and that's how I found like I want a female master distiller, Mexico, and that's how I found her. I also, every time I reached out to someone, they would make an introduction,
Mm.
and I followed up on every single introduction. So someone introduced me by happenstance to someone who also had a tequila brand they had started in the Chicagoland area. I reached out. They're like, oh, we work with these consultants. Oh, in Mexico. Fine. I got the consultants in Mexico. Started working with them to find a distillery. Like, I feel like if you are willing to put in the work and the effort, but it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean, it was, someone asked me recently, like, oh, is this like a part-time job? I'm like, part-time. I'm like, this is an all the time job. It's not even full-time. It is all the time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I went at it. I just started doing as much research. I read an article. I've told the story a number of times, but it's totally a true story that I read an article, why not start a tequila brand. I read the entire article, and the end it said, but if you're going to, you used to reach out to this gentleman because he helped with like initial launch and like Patron and work for them. So instead of like heeding any of the warnings in the article, I sent him a LinkedIn message. I'm like, hey, would you be willing to talk to me? I have this great idea. He took the call. We talked. He introduced me to more people. He like it's consulted for me for like all these years. So that's like what I did. I like would research, find articles, read and find who the sources, who the people are, and like reach out to them.
Okay, Miss Risk Averse.
I
No,
feel like I'm
that
calculated.
yeah,
I came in with like a lot of homework, a lot of due diligence.
giving you a hard time. Giving you a hard time. No, it's you know what, it's a lot to unpack in what you just said, and it's one piece that I do want to stay on for a second. So you made the comment that it's an all the time job, and I'm going back to around the time you started this. Coming from kind of the corporate world, diving headfirst into family, and then jumping into this space that's an all the time job or career or thing, living thing almost to some extent. Was there ever any guilt there? I'll preface that with myself, right? So similarly, different path, but similarly, coming from corporate into an entrepreneur space. When I was in the corporate world, I never got a chance to see my kids because like I was always gone in the dark, come home in the dark. I didn't get to see my kids. Then I became an entrepreneur, and to your point, it's an all the time uh space that we're in, right? But there's a little bit of flexibility, so I get a little bit of time to do things with my kids that I never got to do previously. However, because like you said, it's an all the time space, it's a lot of times that I'm pulled away. And I don't know if it's such a thing. I'm starting to get sometimes this dad guilt. I know they talk about and I'm like, I never really understood it until now. Not putting words in your mouth, but was there ever, or is there ever any, while you're in the midst of this, or while you were in particular building this, like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? Because it's pulling me in a completely different direction.
I have guilt all the time, like all the time. And I think, today while I was racing home to get home for this, I also was home late for my son to get home from school. And he never comes in by himself from school. Like he doesn't like that. He wants someone to be home. And I rarely ever don't have someone here to make sure. And I was on the phone with him, staying on the phone. I'm like, I'm gonna be there in 15 minutes after I get home and staying on the phone with him. But I was like, how did I not make sure to leave on time to make sure that I got home? But I didn't know traffic was gonna be bad. So there's always something. It was his birthday yesterday. I was at a convention Monday and Tuesday. I was supposed to come home and leave on his birthday. And instead, I'm like, you know what? I want to be there to wake him up in the morning. So it's a constant juggle. I took a flight to land at 11 p.m. the night before to make sure I'm home that morning, making pancakes first thing in the morning after getting, home really late at night. So there's like a constant. I don't believe in balance. And if there is such a thing, I'm terrible at it. I think I like to think of it as like, I'm really good at being very focused, and I can focus on one thing really well at a time. So if I have to get something done for work, I could sit here and I could plow it out for like 10 hours straight. And I'm trying to do the same thing when to make that quality time, if it's maybe not as much quantity of time as I'd like. So this weekend we will be at a basketball tournament away in Wisconsin, and I will, be present when I'm there, and at the games, I'll be present. It doesn't mean I won't be checking my emails late at night when we get back to the hotel, because, I can't like just let everything drop. It'll make
Yeah.
me a little nuts. But so I feel like that's kind of how I try and do it. I also think it was a big change for my family because I was home for so long and they were used to me taking care of things. So my third child is like super self-sufficient.
Mm.
I'm like, "Hey, can you make yourself the food? You know, find dinner. It's in the fridge." So like he's got it covered. He's super self-sufficient because I'm just not home as much, especially the travel is a lot. So I try and do the little things, like be there for the things really, really want to be there for. I also decided to prioritize. I heard this from another female founder and I thought it was fabulous. She put together a hierarchy. So I kind of set the standards. Like I will be there for the A events, basketball tournaments, the championships, like the things like that. The B events, I will try. If I can get there, I will. The C events, I will not be at. So like the school was doing the presentation. I had 2 older kids on like, what you need to prepare for outdoor education or whatever for the weekend. I'm like, I won't be there. I can look at the flyer they send out afterwards. I have friends going. I've been through it again. Like, I don't need to show up for that. I'll be at the teacher conferences. That's an A event. So I tried to like put some kind of hierarchy to make myself, at least give myself some grace. And I also think, that having your kids see what you're doing, one of my greatest moments of pride and doesn't, like above and beyond any accolades or awards was going to our local grocery store with my youngest son, seeing Inspiro Tequila on the shelves and him looking at me and just saying, "Mom, look at how much you've done in such a short time." And like the fact that he was proud of me, and because he does take the brunt of like me doing this and building this, and but that he's excited about it and proud, that is, I feel like then I'm like, okay, he's getting something out of this. It's not just being away. Um, and the fact that also he thinks he's my social media consultant, gives me TikTok advice, and decided that he gets 1.1% of the company.
I love it. I love I love his hustle. And I'm going to have to even play this back and take some notes because I try so hard, but I struggle so much with staying present. And I'm trying so hard to be more present in those moments that I'm there. And it's so important because we get pulled in so many directions, but they are the ones that are the most important. And it's like, how do you do it? So I may call you after this and get some tips because I need to figure it out. I need to crack that egg. I
No, and
definitely need to crack that egg.
it's so hard to live according to your priorities. In fact, I even had this conversation with my son
Mhm.
because I think he plays video games too much. And I sat down with him. I'm like, what are your priorities? Like, what do you think you care the most about, like being good at? Like if basketball is above video games, then you should be practicing more in basketball. And if
Mhm.
school is above that, then you should be like focused more on that. Like align your time and how you're committing your time with your priorities. And I needed to hear that too. I need this
Mm.
lesson because when I put my priorities line, it's gonna be like health and family and faith, friends. Like, so I need to make sure my time also aligns with like what my values are.
Yeah. No, that's important. And one of I'm a quotes guy, and one of my favorite quotes is, "If it's important enough for you, you'll find a way. If it's not, you'll find an excuse." And I'm trying to find the way for the things that you mentioned that are important. No, this is. Oh man, I really wish I could take some notes right now while we're talking. Um, what year did you actually launch?
So I founded the company in February of 2020, right before like, the entire world shut down. Which, people say like, oh,
Yeah,
people are drinking, but it wasn't easy
right,
because I couldn't get to Mexico for production. It was
right.
totally shut down. I couldn't get there till May of 2021 for a tasting.
There we go, Miss Risk Averse launching a brand around around a pandemic. I'm just
In
saying,
the
no,
pandemic with 3 kids doing
right.
homeschooling, it was not that fun in my house.
What did, and I know I'm probably going back and we passed this point, but I'm actually wanted to go back just to make one point, or actually one question. So when you decided that you were going to go down this path, what did your friends and family and old colleagues say to you? Was it all support, or was it, are you sure about this? Especially given the timing and everything that was going on.
I actually thought people were gonna think I lost my mind. I thought they were gonna like their reaction was gonna be like, "Are you crazy?" Um, but I'll say two things about this. One, before I really like put that out there, I had done a lot of that work. When we talk about
Mhm.
the research and the legwork, like I wanted to come like prepared because I really did think people are gonna say like, "How are you entering this industry? What do you know about it?" Like that I'd have no credibility. So I really had done a lot of the work before I even like put it out into the universe. And I think women tend to do that a lot and want to make sure that they have like all the backup before they put their ideas out there. So I did. And surprisingly, everyone was like, "Oh, like that sounds like a fantastic," like they just had, like, they believed in me. I think they just knew kind of what my work ethic has always been and assumed that if like I was going to take something on, I was going to do it really well if I was gonna do it. And I was actually shocked. I was shocked that my husband also didn't think I like went crazy. So um everyone was like on board right from the beginning, which was really surprising to me.
Mhm. When you launched, did you have some specific goals in mind, and did you hit those goals? Was it instant success right out the gate?
Oh, isn't everything an instant success in this business?
Hey,
For
you know, when you
sure.
launch an alcohol brand, it's $20 million first month. That's how it works.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I kind of get rid of goals because no matter what goals I would have set, I probably had more just timing goals launching, like, okay, let's get it done. And it ended up taking way longer, of course, as usual. Like, in fact, our entire first production run, I had to get sent the, samples and I didn't like it. I was super disappointed. I didn't like it. They didn't
Mm,
follow one specification in our recipe because we actually craft our master distiller crafts our own recipe. So it was super disappointing, and so that actually set us back like 6 months. I told him I didn't wanna use it at all. So, I just had to learn to be patient. Like, to me, that piece of it, it was less important when we actually, like, launched than getting it right. I just wanted to make sure it had to be something that I really love. I don't think I'm like a natural salesperson that I could sell something if I didn't totally believe in it and like that would be what I want to drink. So I think those goals were more just like how can we get the product how I want it? How can I get the bottle? I had a very specific bottle design in mind. That also was very complicated. I just didn't do anything the easy way. So it just took longer but it was more about getting all those details how I wanted them
yeah.
than like, here's the launch date. We need to sell by this date. So, and because it was COVID, the only opportunity by the time when we launched was really to launch online initially because we were not going to be able to get distribution and get into like, different states then. So really it was just let's get a great product out there and just start building some brand awareness and start with like an online. So in September 2021, we launched with our online platform.
Nice. Nice. So tell us a little bit about your baby. The Inspiro baby. How
I know.
how did you name your baby? And just tell us a little bit about the brand.
Yes, my fourth child.
Your
So
fourth child.
Um, so Inspiro is a Spanish word for inspired, and so it's named in honor of my inspirations that we talked about. My role models, my grandmother, my mother, who gave me the confidence to believe in myself, I guess, and that I can do anything, including enter into a totally new industry. Um, so that's about the name. The bottle, I really wanted a bottle. Well, you've seen the bottle, but I wanted a bottle that was like sleek and sophisticated that I would
Beautiful
want
pack.
to display on my own home bar. And that was also slender in the middle, so it's easy to hold and pour.
Yeah.
Like it was important to me to have those like little, just those small details. I wanted glass closure. And then I just wanted a taste profile that was additive-free, but really approachable and easy to drink. So we were just looking at different ways we could do that. How can we get a Blanco tequila that's sippable, smooth, sweeter notes, but without using additives? I thought of this idea because I'd seen very few brands, but just a couple brands who barrel rested even a Blanco, even though typically a Blanco goes just from distillation to bottling. So I thought, can we try and like rest it for a short time to develop some sweeter tasting notes? So that's what we ended up doing. We put it in American oak barrels for a short time to create some sweeter tasting notes. I mean, a big piece of this was finding this like legendary Anna Maria Romero as our master distiller to create the taste profiles. So I could like tell her, here's what I'm thinking. Can you actually make it happen? And she was able to bring my concept to life. And then we have so we have two SKUs, the Blanco and then a Rosa Reposado. And that's again, coming in as an outsider. It's like, you don't know what you don't know. So I thought, I like rosé wine, but I don't like all the sugar. And I like tequila. Can we age tequila in rosé wine barrels? I had no idea that rosé wine is a young wine that typically does not ever touch wood. So when I had this idea, it was like next to impossible to find rosé wine barrels. So we finally sourced them after like scouring the earth for rosé wine barrels. So it just one of the other details, like I wanted to make something, there are a lot of tequila brands. I wanted to be like different from not just the story aspect of it and being distilled, owned, and led by women and powered by an all, female team, but that the packaging would be different and that the actual liquid have like some little bit of a unique twist by using wine barrels instead of traditional aging of reposados. Has a little bit of a, different taste profile, different colorings. It's rose gold color, different, aroma. So it was important to me to like, as an outsider, you've been in the industry for a long time, but as an outsider coming in, I just thought I don't have any of the like parameters and I'm just going to try and innovate like how I would want to do it if I, was just coming in.
I love that you are so intentional about the product. I mean, like, so you can't say this, but I will say this. There's a lot of garbage out there. There's a lot of garbage out there. And so for you to be so intentional about, the no additive, like it's just so it's refreshing to hear that the corners weren't cut to create something that is not only aspirational to some degree, but a better product. Just having a better product that can meet so many different marks is astounding. And I applaud you for doing that and not taking those shortcuts. Kudos to
Thank
you on
you.
that. Do you think that Inspiro helped you get in touch with your own personal purpose? Like, is it kind of did it lead you to who Mara is and kind of bring out those things about your purpose through this brand?
Yes. And that's a great and interesting question that I've never been asked. And I think actually, yes, I had to build a community. So, right, I came back in with no business network because I've been out of the workforce for a long time. It required me to very consciously build a community. And I now have a community of founders within the industry. I had to like, kind of put myself out there in the industry, become like known within the industry. So it forced me to do all these things. But then I built this community of all these fantastic female founders and leaders, people I never would have imagined being in the same room as. And I also see how together we can like elevate each other. And right, we're a certified B Corp, we're a social impact company with a mission to elevate other women in business. So having all these different like touch points and between women's organizations and groups and collaborating and partnering, I feel like I have a voice and that I can use it. And I have like kind of like a platform. I mean, it might be a small platform, might be my LinkedIn platform, whatever it is. But I feel like I now have a platform where I can kind of like express what I've always thought, but now I have a way to do it. My whole vision and is that as women-owned businesses become more successful, you're going to have more women that can invest back into other female founders. And so that is how we can like start to level the playing field and access to capital, right? So you need women to invest back in, and that's like how we can kind of all rise together. And I believe it. I believe it with everything I do. I buy women owned. I gift women owned. I mean, we try not just in leadership and ownership, but we're very deliberate about trying to have vendors and suppliers we work with be diverse owned, like everywhere through our entire ecosystem. And I think that is how I've changed personally. I can see that there's like an impact I can make, even as this one just mother of 3, that I can actually do something and make an impact. And that has changed me personally, because the more you bring women to the table and that we're in the room where we have a voice, like then there's more decision makers, it just impacts everything. And so that's kind of how I look at it now, is like, that personally it changed me, especially for someone who did not like to speak publicly or in front of people. And now I've become more comfortable with that, because I feel so passionately, I'm so passionate about what I'm sharing, that I think now I have that confidence that I can go out and express it in front of other people.
This would be a great breaking point to do something that we like to do. We deviate sometimes to make it a little fun. And we're going top 5, Mara. And I hope you know what I mean when I say top 5. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do, because I've listened.
Okay, so here we go. What's your top 5, Mara?
Sting,
All right.
Kesha,
All right.
U2, Whitney Houston, Eminem.
That's a great list. That's a
A
great
big
list.
mix.
What's your favorite Sting song?
Every little thing she does is magic.
Okay. Amazing. Amazing. Mara, your passion is infectious. Your mission is monumental. I mean, you're doing it. You're really doing it. Don't stop doing it. Don't stop running down that path. For those who are familiar with the podcast, this is season 2 now, and we're changing things up slightly, but we're keeping some things in. And if you've heard it before, I always like to somewhat end with here are my favorites, and I'd be remiss not to play that little game with you. So this is literally a game. You answer with the first thing that comes to mind. Here's one of my favorites. There's no wrong answer. Yeah, and I'm not going to ask you who's your favorite child or anything like that. So you don't got to worry
On any
about
given
that.
day.
I get. So here is one of my favorite things to do while I'm in this Chicago traffic.
Podcast. I listen to podcasts.
Here's one of my favorite podcasts.
And I listen to podcasts on double speed. I listen to a lot of podcasts. Recently, I'm listening to one. Well, it's very short. It's called the VC Minutes. And I like them. They're like these little short snippets, because I'm going to go into the fundraising mode. I think they're really good, quick takeaways. But I listen to a ton of podcasts, founder podcasts, everything, marketing podcasts, like you name it, I listen to.
Here is one of my favorite places to vacation.
Southern California.
Okay.
I love a combination of having water and mountains.
Here's one of my favorite business leaders.
Well, you may get this one from a lot of like female founders, but I'd say Sarah Blakely, because I think she set the standard, but she also just seems to like have fun. Like she seemed to have fun along the way when she's building. And I love that. This is like talk about goals every year. She surprises her friends, like her friends since like childhood, with a surprise trip. They don't know where they're going. And every year I'm like, that is like, I love that. That's like powerhouse woman.
Here's one of my favorite things about being a mother.
As I have a child dropping his phone down the stairs in the background here. Yes. My favorite thing. I feel like it's just my heart explodes when like every time my kids walk in the room, I feel like I light up.
Here's one of my favorite ways to enjoy Inspiro Tequila.
I'm a very simple girl. I like tequila and soda. Tequila on the rocks with soda, no garnish.
All right. Here's one of my favorite things about myself.
Um, Probably determination. And I'm just, when I put my mind to something, I'm pretty determined and willing to, you know, work really hard to make it happen.
Well, Mara, we are determined to see Inspiro become as successful as the trajectory that it's already on. I know people are so sick of me saying this, but I'm gonna keep saying it over and over and over and over again. Look, liking something is great, everybody out there, but for small brands to become big brands, you have to go and support them. Go out there and buy these products, try these products. So, you got choices, choose wisely, go out there and support these brands because there's a lot of great brands out there. Where can they find Inspiro? Let us know where you are, what markets you're in, and then also where they can find you online and socials and all that good stuff.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, we are in Illinois, Massachusetts, Michigan, Missouri, Florida, and Georgia in market. And you can also find us online at inspirotequila.com, INSPIRO tequila.com. And there we ship through our online site to 45 states. You can follow us on at Inspiro Tequila, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Mara Smith. I am a big LinkedIn fan, so please connect.
Mara, it was a fabulous time speaking with you. I truly appreciate you giving me some of your oh so busy day. Long overdue, but I'm glad we were able to make it happen. And look, if there's anything that I can do to be of support, I am here. Add me to that network of relationships that you're building, because I love to see good people win. And when they do, I feel part of me has won. So I appreciate you. And if anything I can do, I'm here.
That is a great, great sentiment, and I appreciate that. So thank you. I like to see good people win too, and I like to see small brands, like small independent brands, become successful.
It's happening. It's happening. Everybody, thanks for joining in. Cheers.
Thank you.